Tales of Arise releases in a little less than a month and the hype is palpable. Bandai Namco was gracious enough to give me early access to the upcoming demo, so in this video I'll be telling you all about what you can expect, my impressions, and if Tales of Arise is shaping up to be the next JRPG masterpiece. So let's just dive right in. Now I spent about 45 minutes with the demo trying out each character, exploring every corner, fighting every monster, and basically just exhausting everything there was to do. The demo breaks down something like this. When you begin the demo, it asks you to choose a character, which there's really no point since you can change the leader and the party at any given time. It says the only reason to do this is because once you beat the demo, there's sort of like an extra trailer after, and these trailers might already exist, so I would just go on Bandai Namco's YouTube channel and look them up there. And from here, your goal is to go to a nearby city. And along the way, you'll have the tutorial fight to kind of get you used to the mechanics of the game. You'll encounter all kinds of different monsters, there'll be collecting nodes all over the place, and a ton more. Now once you get to the city, there is going to be a guy waiting for you there and he asks you to kill a nearby monster. So you go find the monster, you defeat it, and that's pretty much the end of the demo. Now, things that you can do in the demo, there's actually a lot that you can do besides just that. You know, once you mine at the nodes, you can take those ores, you can craft new accessories, you can cook, you can do the new types of skits, which are pretty different from the traditional skits, and you can fight an optional mini-boss. So as far as what I think of the game, let's start with the look. I mean, Tales of Arise is absolutely gorgeous, even on PlayStation 4 that I played on. You know, there's a little bit of draw distance issues, but the art style is probably the best the Tales series has ever looked. It has this really amazing new shader, it looks kind of painterly, it just has a very cool, unique look that really comes out in the environment and in the monster designs and these different things. It looks absolutely fantastic. The monster designs are really great. You know, there's boars, there's big rock monsters, there's flying monsters, there's the boss monster that you'll find out a little bit later. I don't want to spoil that for you, but they all look really great. And all the battle animations are incredible. There's so many different unique animations, unique moves, the way characters combo off different moves, the way they interact with the monsters is just really neat. And I think the biggest improvement that this game has made from past Tales games is the world and level design. My God, my biggest complaint from past Tales games has been the level design and the world design. It's just been so boring. But with Tales of Arise, there's always something that catches your interest. You know, there's like sparkly little pieces of food that you can grab that you can use to cook later. There's mining nodes that you can use to craft stuff. There's monsters everywhere that you can fight and other collectibles that you can find. And I felt like having these all over the map really encouraged me to explore really in the first time in a Tales game. You know, they tried this in other Tales games, but they failed. They didn't have anything interesting for you to find. But here, you know, there's like little situations where there's like a lake, and if you swim across the lake, there's a cave, and in the cave, there's a better item for one of your guys. I love that. That is one of my favorite things to do in RPGs. I absolutely love exploring, and the Tales games have just never been about that. It's always been those cookie cutter RPG Maker dungeon designs, and the worlds are kind of these interconnected zones that aren't that interesting. But here in Tales of Arise, so far, at least for this little level, they absolutely nailed it. Now let's talk about the skits. Now I've never really been a fan of the Tales skits. I'd rather just have these, you know, incorporated into the game itself, but I like these a little bit better in Tales of Arise. Instead of using the 2D kind of like anime hand-drawn art style, it's like the in-game art style. It seems like they're kind of pulling inspiration from their own game, Scarlet Nexus, where it's like the in-game models and they still will have these sort of comic book panels that come out and it's fully voice acted and stuff like that. Again, I'm still not the biggest fan of the skits, but to me it's a little bit more tolerable, and I don't know if it's because they're better animated or it feels a little bit more dynamic. I don't know what it is, but it's a little bit better. Now, cooking does make a return, and this isn't like the past Tales games where you kind of just do it in the menu and then you have your items. You have to do it at a campfire. So when you go camping, it kind of resets the time. There is sort of a real-time night and day system, and when you go camping, it'll reset that. It'll refill your HP and your CP, which I'll touch on in a little bit. And when you cook, it obviously gives you some kind of buff, like increased defense, increased offense, something like that. Now, speaking of CP, let's talk about that and let's talk about the combat. So if you've played a Tales game, generally speaking, this will feel fairly familiar. You know, you'll swirl into a battle, it's action combat, you have arts moves that refill as you do basic attacks, so I'll dive into it in a little bit more detail. But for the uninitiated, let's just start from the very beginning. So you have a basic attack, and one of the strangest things to get used to was this basic attack was mapped to the R1 button instead of one of the face buttons. It felt odd at the beginning, but I got used to it as the battles went on. Now you do have 3 arts or 3 special attacks that are mapped to either the triangle, the square, or the cross button, and the more you do these, you can kind of like build up combos, and you can sort of combo these arts off each other. And then circle actually jumps, and you can jump when you're exploring the world too, so it's kind of nice to have a little bit more of a dynamic, not only in the exploring, but also for combat. Now you can't spam your arts forever, like I said. You will have these little icons that I'll show you right here, and once those run out, you need to build them back up by performing basic attacks. So I feel like that's kind of a good way to balance out the gameplay, balance out the combat, where you can't just spam all your moves. You kind of have to go back and forth. You have to be mindful of everything. And what's cool is as you're doing combos, as you're performing your arts, you can call in other party members, whether they're in your party or not, which I really like, and they can just kind of jump in and do a quick attack. Maybe you're getting pummeled, or maybe it's just a great way to combo attack. And again, these little call-in moves also have their own meter, so you can't just spam those over and over. And then there's one more meter that will fill up, and it like really catches your attention in all blue, and it's this strike meter. And basically it is a pair-up move that is almost always a finisher move or some type of strong attack. And so for the demo, there was basically only 3 pair-up attacks, but they all looked really cool, had awesome animations, and from what I've seen in trailers, there will be more pair-up attacks later on. I'm guessing this is something you can set in the arts menu, but we'll have to wait and see what those look like. And of course, you can swap to any of your 4 party members mid-fight, and each plays very, very different. So Alphen is probably the most balanced. He's the main character with the sword. You know, he attacks pretty fast. So one of the other characters, one of my favorite character designs so far, Kisara, she has this big shield. Now, most of the characters in the game, basically everybody but Kisara, has a dodge, but instead of a dodge for Kisara, she has a block with her big shield. So that's sort of like what makes her a little bit different from the other characters. And Shion, for example, she only attacks from far. She's got her gun, and she's got like this laser blast. She throws bombs. But what's cool about her is she's a very valuable healer, and this is where CP comes in. So CP is basically a form of healing points. So these can replenish with items or when you rest at your camp. And I didn't really understand the purpose of this. I didn't understand why this needed to be an extra thing. I don't know why healing arts couldn't have just been arts that used up meter. I don't know why it had to be its own separate thing. Maybe as the game goes on, maybe it's part of the story, or maybe it will make more sense. But through my very limited time with the demo, I didn't really quite understand the purpose of CP. Now, I'm also thinking of doing a character breakdown for every character in a more in-depth separate video. So if this sounds interesting to you, leave a comment and leave a like, and maybe I'll put that together for you. And unfortunately, there really isn't any story moments so far, so I can't comment on that. There wasn't a ton of voice acting in the demo, so this is something that we're gonna have to wait for the full game to learn more about. Now let's answer the question of this video. Will Tales of Arise be the next JRPG masterpiece? It's hard to tell because there really isn't any story, but so far I'm very optimistic. The combat is so fun, the game looks amazing, easily the best looking Tales game so far, has amazing world design, again the best world design I've ever seen in a Tales game so far. I can't wait to explore more, and again the story is the biggest question mark and we just don't know, so we'll have to wait for the full game. Now the demo releases August 18th and you guys can play it for yourself, and once you play it, come back to this video, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the whole game, who's been your favorite character to play as, are you more excited, are you less excited? I can't wait to hear what you think. And if you want even more Tales of Arise content, check out this video right here. It'll break down even more of the game if you're excited for it. And if you're not already, be sure to subscribe because I'll have my full review coming real soon and you won't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.